Sometimes you have to get crazy to not go crazy. Sometimes a little bit of insanity is just what you need to save yourself when you're really down. So I'm 13 years old, and I'm having the worst summer of my whole life. My dad hates me. I hate him. I love Muhammad Ali. He hates Muhammad Ali. I love the Beatles. He hates the Beatles. British fags, he calls them. Sad, isn't it? So anyway, I'm having this awful summer, but I have one thing that's going on in my life that's kind of halfway worthwhile. I had this weird, funky job working at a swimming pool. And two buddies that we were the maintenance crew. One of the buddies is actually my brother, my older brother Mark, and the other guy was this guy named Pete. And we had some fun. You know, we made everything that we did at that club fun. And if everything was going wrong at home, and everything was going, else that was going wrong in my life, and everything else was going wrong in my life, I was an athlete whose career was kind of going straight downhill. I had short hair because my dad made me cut my hair really short, and so no girls were interested in me. And anyway, I was very blue, and I was sort of doing that downward spiral, that teenage angst thing. Summer ain't no cure for the summertime blues. That is where I was. So one day, after a big fight with my father that almost came to blows, I go into work, and I'm just as blue and as angry and as down and as nasty, awful, mean, and bitter as a 13-year-old can be. And so my boss, who was part of the fun of working at this place, was this wild Kentucky wacko named Larry Wetenkamp. Now Larry was a tall guy, kind of angular, think Jim Carrey, right? And he had like a pompadour. And nobody had a pompadour in the late 60s, right? It wasn't cool anymore. But Larry did. Larry was a hipster, and he had all kinds of stories. He was about 30 years old, and I don't know why he paid so much attention to me and my brother and my buddy Pete, but he was like, not just our boss, but he was like our mentor. And he told us great dirty jokes. And he gave us beers on the sly. And that kind of thing, that was just kind of small-time stuff, but it was fun for us. So anyway, I go into work in this deep, dark blue indigo mood, right? And Larry says, "What's wrong?" And I started telling him. He says, "Look, I can't fix that, but look, just go out and mow the orchard." So I'm out there mowing the orchard, and for about a half an hour, crying and unhappy, and then him and Pete and my brother waved me in from way out in the orchard, and they say, "We're going on a road trip." So we all piled into Larry's car. Now Larry's car was something. It was an old '53 Buick. And remember those big old behemoths with the air vents on the side, 3 air vents? And it was this blue and white thing, or it was once upon a time blue and white, but it had kind of rust stains all over it. And it was this big old 8-cylinder thing, and it could really go. And it looked like hell, but it was actually a pretty fast car. Anyway, we all piled into the car, and we go off to the candy factory. That's what was our job. So we got to the candy factory, we picked up this stuff, and I was still kind of angry. I was still kind of I was having a bit of fun with the guys and all, but I was sort of sitting in the corner in the back of that big old car, and just thinking, I hate my life, I hate myself, I hate my dad, I want to die. And I can't say that I was at the point of wanting to kill myself. I was never quite there. But I was close. It was bad. Anyway, Larry, at one point, as we're returning from the candy factory, he looks back, and I could sort of see his mind thinking about things. And all of a sudden he says, "Hey, watch this." And so about 100 yards down the road, there was a hippie crossing the street. Now, Larry wasn't particularly fond of hippies, being a kind of Kentucky boy, and he saw them as long-haired radicals and all that. But the hippie was being a complete butthole, okay? He was doing that thing that people used to do a lot. I don't know if they do it anymore, but he was walking real slow across the street. Just to make people slow down. Okay, so he was being a jerk. So maybe he got a little bit what was coming to him. Larry, instead of slowing down, he steps on the gas. Okay, and the car, like, kind of had to think about it first. The car kind of went, and then all of a sudden it went, boom, right? And it shot forward, and we're speeding towards this funky hill. And you can kind of see the transformation on the guy's face. It started like, oh, you're just playing with me. Then it went to like, are they serious? To, oh shit! And he dives and barely makes it to the curb before we whiz by him. Now that was wrong. I'm not saying that's funny. But when you're 13 years old and you think your life is hell, that's funny. So we laughed till we cried. And it was such a release, you know, because it was the first good laugh I think I'd had in about 2 months. And so Larry, he knows he's on a roll now. So he's doing that thing with the pompadour, and he's driving that Buick. And we get on this country road, it's 2-lane country road, and we're all, you know, we're about 3 miles away from the swimming pool. And he hears Polk Salad Annie on the radio. So he pops it up and he turns it up. And he really starts getting into the groove of the song, you know. Gators got your granny, chomp, chomp, and then he's beeping on the horn. And then all of a sudden, he takes the car and he veers over onto the left-hand side of the road. And like my brother and I and Pete were going, what the hell is he doing? And he proceeds to just like go down the wrong side of the road, just for fun. Polk Salad Annie, and he starts doing this thing with his beating on the dashboard. Polk Salad Annie, boom, 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 boom. Gators got your granny, boom, boom, boom. And he's going down the road like this, and we don't know whether to shit or go blind. Because we're scared to death, because he's on the wrong side of the road. And this isn't just some long road where you can see everything coming at you. No, there's curves and stuff. And like we're thinking, okay, around the next corner is death, but we don't care. We're playing Polk Salad Annie, you know, there you got your granny on, chomp, chomp. Anyway, just when we think it can't get any crazier or stupider, Larry just turns the car left into the weeds. Boom, we're in the weeds. And I'm not talking weeds that are like this. I'm talking weeds that are like this. I'm talking like tree saplings, just spat around. And this big old 6-ton 53 Buick is going boom, 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 and a Polk Salad Annie, boom, 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 and we're knocking over these trees. And we don't know what the heck, where are we? We don't even know where we are. And like, I'm like, somehow I'm like thinking, this is the end. It's all going to end for me now, and I want to live. And then all of a sudden, we pop out of the woods and the weeds, and there's the swimming pool right in front of us. It was like magic. And like I found out later that there had been a road once upon a time, and he knew about it, and da-da-da-da. But at the time, it was a complete shock. It was crazy. So he parks the car, turns off the radio, doesn't say a word. He just gets out of the car and just walks into the office and doesn't even debrief with us or say, wasn't that funny or anything. No. He just let it lie there. He knew it was too wacky to even talk about. So that's the story of Polk Salad Annie. And I gotta say that, looking back on it, that was the moment in time where I realized that you have to get crazy sometimes, not to go crazy. If you want to get out of the weeds, sometimes you got to go through them with a 53 Buick.